In Galatians, one of the strongest charges to test your spirituality and my spirituality is found. It's in Galatians chapter 6, verse 1. It's a very familiar verse. You've heard this pastor teach on this verse a lot. You've probably heard others. But brothers. Now, who is he speaking to here? Lost people or saved people? Saved people. Brothers, if anyone. So, do you see the word others there in another form? If anyone is caught, it's the ideal of an animal being entrapped in a snare. I've got 3 coyotes that run across my neighboring field, and the other morning I got up and I was on the phone with Stanley Dye, and he called at an ungodly time, about 6:15 in the morning. That's not the time to make phone calls unless you're sick, but he called me and I said, Stanley, there's 3 coyotes in our yard. I think I could throw a slingshot if I was like David and hit them. And he told me he's got some traps that he could catch them very easily. And this is the ideal that when we see people in their life like this, are they innocent or guilty? They're guilty. They're caught. They're guilty. If anyone is caught in any transgression, and then he says this, and I would encourage you to dial in and pay attention to the text. Highlight, underline this, because I'm not here today to pass time. I'm here today to learn and glorify God and apply this in my life. You who are what? Spiritual, you have a responsibility. You should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. So you can test your spirituality not by how much Bible knowledge you know. I would also say this, not by if you're here today. But would heaven say you're a person who readily and easily forgives others? Well, I know the books of the Bible. I know them in order. Matter of fact, I could say them backwards. I'm glad for you. That makes finding the books of the Bible easier, right? I've memorized this chapter or these chapters or this verse this week. I even do a daily devotion every day. I'm glad for you, and you need to be doing this. But are you a person who readily and easily forgives? Or is there hell to pay? Have you ever been around those people? They're an unforgiving person, listen to me, and all they need is someone to offend them. And unforgiving people make much of the offender rather than realizing what heaven has already done for them. And rather than focusing on what heaven has done for them and canceling their past, present, and future, they don't meditate on that. They meditate on being offended. If anyone is caught. Have you ever been caught in a sin? I was talking to a relative about insurance and getting Charlie's insurance, and they asked if we had a good record, and I said, well, I've never been with State Farm for 20 years. I've never had an accident on our claim and hadn't had a ticket since Cara Grace was 2 weeks old. And Charlie, in his infinite wisdom, had something to say. He simply said this, but how many have you talked your way out of, Dad? I've been caught before, right? In their mercy, they let me go. Now listen, I tell everybody those stories. Those of you that will have a similar story, you're thankful for that. Well, how do you treat people when they're caught?